Welcome back. China's foreign ministry says its top diplomat will visit Russia this month as the U.S. grapples with Chinese relations and the controversial Chinese surveillance balloon. Should we be looking at China as an adversary or as an enemy? Joining us now to discuss is the author of The Coming Collapse of China and the Great U.S.-China Tech War, Chang. Gordon, over the last week, we saw slow action to shoot down the first Chinese surveillance balloon. Now the Pentagon won't identify the other three objects. Where's the transparency here?
There certainly isn't transparency. The Pentagon very well may not know where the three last objects came from, the ones that were shot down Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But they know a lot more than they're telling us because they did track at least the first two. And we know that they entered U.S. airspace from the north of Alaska, which suggests Russia. Now, it could be China launching from Russian territory, could be Russia, or I suppose it could be a Chinese balloon that went all the way around Alaska, but that seems to be unlikely. So right now, I think that the administration is really concerned that China and Russia are working together and they don't want to tell the American people. And by the way, Justin Trudeau, the Canadian Prime Minister, addressed the Canadian people about the balloon that was shot down on Saturday. You would think that the President of the United States would tell us about the other three balloons, because those are important to the American people.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think there's so many questions right now about those other balloons. So now their top diplomat will visit Russia for the first time since their invasion of Ukraine. How concerning is the reemergence of this relationship?
Well, clearly the world is dividing into two, with China and Russia forming the core of a new axis. And around that are their proxies: Iran, North Korea, Pakistan, maybe Algeria. The Biden administration and a lot of American national security professionals don't want to acknowledge that we are now in a new Cold War. And if you can't acknowledge what's happening, then you can't deal with it. You know, the Biden administration has been trying to warn China not to supply military assistance to Russia. That was the red line. But China, from the very beginning of this conflict, has been doing that. And the Biden administration has failed to impose costs on China. So China feels that it can move a lot closer to Russia. So really what we have right now is bad American policy aggravating the situation in Ukraine.
Yeah, I think the tensions right now are getting even heightened. But we had earlier in the show, we were joined by retired Brigadier General Blair. Here's what he had to say about the threat of China, but not as a competitor. Listen.
What have they done? They've created massive acts of war. They do intellectual property theft every single day. This TikTok stuff is doing great harm to our civil society, no matter what Governor Whitmer wants to say. And we've got to say enough's enough. We're not dealing with a competitor. We're dealing with an adversary, possibly an enemy.
Yeah, he's been very outspoken about that. Do you agree with him?
Well, I think that China certainly is an enemy, because we have to acknowledge what the Chinese call us and the way they think about us. I mean, they've declared a people's war on America. And that means we're not talking about a competitor, as Joe Biden says. And I believe we've gone well beyond the adversary stage. The Chinese are killing Americans to the tune of 80,000 a year on fentanyl. We know that China deliberately released the coronavirus beyond its borders. However it started, we don't know that. But we do know that they spread it beyond its borders. That's 1,114,000 Americans killed by a disease that should have never left the central part of China. So, yeah, they're killing Americans. I call them an enemy.
Yeah, it's so many people now are outspoken about this, and you know, we see China as an ally for so many things, but also, as many are saying, they are not an ally; they are our enemy as well, and we need to keep them at a distance. Thank you so much, Chang. We appreciate that.